My sister posted a photo of me and my 6-year-old with the caption, "When mistakes raise mistakes." My whole family liked it and started mocking us. But my ex-husband didn't. He posted one thing, and within minutes, chaos erupted. Hey Reddit, my family decided to wage war because I said no to a loan request. They brought social media and lawyers. What happened next was absolute chaos. Here's what went down. Name's Amanda, 29 female. I was sorting through a week's worth of mail when my phone started lighting up like a slot machine. Constant buzzing, one ping after another. The kind of thing that makes your stomach drop before you even look. I picked up the phone and opened Facebook. The first thing I saw made me freeze. My sister had posted a photo of me and my 6-year-old son. We were sitting on the curb outside our house from maybe 2 weeks back. I looked exhausted because I was. Night shift at the distribution center, then straight into parent pickup, then homework and dinner and bedtime routines. My son was drawing with sidewalk chalk, making a rainbow. The caption, though, "When mistakes raise mistakes." I read it 5 times before my brain would process it. My full name tagged, my son's face clear as day. Public post. 300 people could see it. The comments were already stacking up. Someone from my old job wrote, "Yikes." My aunt dropped a, "Well, that's one way to put it." Then came the likes. My mother, my father, my cousin Caddy, Uncle Bill. All of them co-signing this public humiliation of me and my kid. This wasn't some random family drama moment. My sister's been the household mascot for bad decisions for years, and everyone treats it like a group project. She messes up, they excuse it. I set one boundary, I'm suddenly the villain. I've watched my parents cover her bills, smooth over her screw-ups, and act like accountability is abuse. Meanwhile, I'm the boring one with a job, a kid, and a schedule. So apparently, I'm the easiest target. Seeing them smash like on a post calling my son a mistake wasn't surprising. It was just them finally saying the quiet part out loud. My son was in the next room watching videos on his tablet, completely unaware. He was 6. He liked drawing and bad knock-knock jokes and watching cooking shows, even though he refused to eat vegetables. And my sister had just broadcast to everyone we knew that he was a mistake. I sat there holding that phone, reading every comment, watching the like count climb. Someone I didn't even know commented, "This is sad." Another person, one of my sister's friends, wrote, "The truth hurts sometimes." Caddy chimed in with something about how this is what happens when you burn bridges and expect help. That last one clicked everything into place. 3 weeks ago, my sister had asked me for money. $1,500 for a car, she said. Needed it to get to work. I'd told her no, not because I'm cruel, because the last time I'd lent her anything, I never saw it again. Worse than that, 6 months before, she'd stolen from me, walked into my house, went upstairs while I was making her lunch, and took my debit card from my bedroom drawer, pulled $600 out of my account. I only caught it when my card declined at the grocery store, and I checked my banking app in the parking lot. Same day she'd been at my place, printing a resume. She'd sat at my kitchen table eating a sandwich I made while planning to rob me. I'd given her 3 days to come clean. She didn't. So I got the ATM camera footage from my bank, filed a police report, and reversed the transaction. The family lost their minds. Suddenly, I was heartless, vindictive. How could I do that to my own sister? Nobody cared that she'd committed fraud, and it wasn't like this was her only mess. She'd separated from her husband Lars 3 months before the theft, was already mid-divorce with a custody battle brewing over their 4-year-old son, and had been bouncing between jobs all year. But none of that mattered to our parents. She was still the victim in their eyes, and I was still the one expected to help clean up after her. This was payback. Public, cruel, calculated payback, elated. And everyone was helping her do it. Everyone except one person. My almost ex-husband, Mateo. We'd been separated for 6 months. Divorce papers signed and filed, just waiting on the finalization date next month. We barely talked anymore. Logistics about our son, who'd pick him up when holiday schedules. That was it. He'd moved out in May, took his stuff in trash bags and boxes, and we'd just sort of dissolved into polite distance. But his name wasn't in those likes, wasn't in the comments. He'd seen it, I knew he had. We had mutual friends, shared connections, but he hadn't engaged. 10 minutes later, Mateo finally popped up, not in the comments, but with his own post. He screenshot my sister's caption, blurred our son's face, and wrote, "Dragging a kid online is trash. Also, if anyone's confused why Amanda said no to money, ask about the debit card stunt and the police report." Within minutes, the post got shared in the family group chat, and it imploded. Mom started calling Mateo nonstop. I screenshot the post. Every comment, the like list, everything. Just knew I needed documentation. Then I set my phone down and stared at the wall for a solid 10 minutes. That night, I got a text from Caddy. Long paragraph about how I needed to take responsibility for my actions, how I'd alienated everyone with my attitude, how my sister was just being honest about a difficult situation. I didn't respond. Just screenshot it. Something in my gut said, keep everything. The post stayed up all night. By morning, it had 67 likes and 42 comments. Some people defending me, mostly strangers or distant acquaintances. But the core family, my actual relatives, they were all in on it, supporting it, enjoying it. I made my son breakfast, got him ready for school, dropped him off. Then I sat in my car in the parking lot and called Mateo. He answered on the third ring. You saw it? I said. Yeah. We sat in silence for a few seconds. I screenshot everything, I said. Don't know why. Just felt like I should. Good, he said. Keep doing that. He didn't tell me what to do, just validated my gut reaction and hung up. It was more support than I'd gotten from him in months, maybe years. I went home and started a document, typed out the timeline, when she'd asked for money, when I'd said no, the theft 6 months prior, the police report, the family's reaction, then this post. I added screenshots, organized them by date, put it all in a folder on my laptop labeled Records. People don't publicly humiliate you, and then just stop. My sister was angry. My family was backing her. They wanted a reaction, wanted me to apologize, grovel, admit I was wrong for daring to hold anyone accountable. I wasn't going to give them that. The post stayed up for 3 days. I didn't engage. Just watched the comments pile up. My sister kept adding to it, posting in the comments about how she'd tried to help me over the years, and this was the thanks she got. My mother chimed in about how I'd always been difficult. Caddy wrote a whole essay about family loyalty and how I'd never understood it. I saved all of it, every single word. On day 4, something shifted. A few people started pushing back. Someone I went to high school with commented that posting someone's kid like that was inappropriate, regardless of family drama. Another person pointed out that calling a child a mistake publicly was concerning. My sister deleted those comments within minutes, but I'd already grabbed screenshots. Then the post disappeared entirely, just vanished. I figured that was it. She'd gotten her petty revenge, realized it was backfiring, and backed off. I was wrong. 2 days later, I got home from work to find a door hanger from the Department of Social Services, Child Protective Services Division. It said they'd attempted contact and to call the number listed. There was also a voicemail on my phone from a social worker asking me to return her call. I stood there holding that door hanger feeling like I'd been punched. CPS. Someone had called CPS on me. I knew immediately who it was. Had to be my sister, or my mother, or both. This was escalation. I went inside and called the number back, scheduled an appointment for the next morning at 10. Then I tore through the house, checked for anything that could be used against me. Dishes in the sink, I washed them. Laundry in baskets, I folded it. My son's room was already clean because he was weirdly organized for a 6-year-old. I vacuumed, wiped down counters, made sure the fridge was stocked, changed the sheets, made the house look like something from a catalog. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. Then I realized it was my sister's friend Priya, someone I'd met at a few family gatherings. The message was short. I'm sorry. She shouldn't have done this. She texted our group chat yesterday saying, watch how fast she loses her kid and I thought you should know. I have 2 kids and I couldn't stay quiet about this. I screenshot it immediately, sent it to myself via email for backup. Then I called Mateo. He showed up 20 minutes later. CPS, I said, showing him the door hanger and playing the voicemail on speaker. They're coming tomorrow at 10. He read it. Didn't look surprised. Just tired. What do you think they reported? I don't know. Whatever sounds convincing enough to get someone to show up. He walked through the house, taking it in. Everything was spotless now. He nodded slightly, like he was checking boxes in his head. You need to install a doorbell camera, he said. Tonight, before they come back. I don't have one. I do. It's in my truck. I'll put it up now. He spent the next hour installing a video doorbell, showing me how to use the app, making sure it captured the entire front porch. Then he sat with me at the kitchen table and we made a list. Every adult who'd been in the house in the last month, every doctor appointment my son had attended, his school attendance record, his last checkup dates, medications, none, allergies, none, emergency contacts, everything. You're going to be fine, he said, but you need to treat this like a legal proceeding. Don't get defensive. Don't trash your sister even if you want to. Just answer their questions and show them a stable home. I wanted to ask why he was helping me. We were getting divorced. This wasn't his problem anymore. But I didn't. Just nodded and added more information to the list. He stayed until almost midnight, helped me organize documents, find my son's immunization records, pull up proof of employment and rent payments. When he finally left, he stopped at the door. Call me after they leave tomorrow. Let me know how it goes. The social worker showed up at exactly 10 a.m. Woman in her 40s, tired eyes, carrying a tablet and a folder. I let her in immediately, offered coffee, kept my voice steady even though my hands were shaking. She asked to see the house. I showed her everything. Kitchen, living room, both bedrooms, bathroom. Can I ask what this is about? I said when we sat back down. She consulted her tablet. We received a report expressing concerns about the child's welfare. Allegations of emotional abuse and possible neglect. Can you tell me specifics? The reporter claimed the child is frequently left alone, that there's conflict in the home, and that you've been posting concerning content about the child on social media. I almost laughed. I haven't posted anything about my son on social media in months, I said. But someone else did post about him recently. Would you like to see it? I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots. The original post, the caption, my sister's name right there at the top. Then I showed her the text from Priya. Watch how fast she loses her kid, sent the day before the CPS visit. The social worker's expression didn't change, but she took notes. Asked me to email her copies of everything. Then she asked to speak to my son. I called him in from his room. He sat on the couch looking confused. The social worker asked simple questions. 20 minutes later, she stood to leave, handed me her card. I'll need to make one more visit, probably next week, but preliminarily, I'm not seeing evidence of the allegations. Your home is appropriate, your son seems well-adjusted, and you've been cooperative. After she left, I sat on the couch and shook for 10 minutes. Then I called Mateo. It was my sister, I said. Had to be. The social worker said they got a report about me posting concerning content about my kid online. That's projection, he said. Your sister posted it, so she reported you for posting it. That's insane. That's desperate. He was right. My sister had gone nuclear because the original post hadn't destroyed me the way she wanted. So she'd escalated, tried to get my kid taken away. And when that didn't work, she'd probably escalate again. I printed out the screenshots and put them in a binder. Added the CPS business card, the social worker's notes, everything. Mateo was right. I needed to be ready. 3 days later, I got served with papers. Emergency guardianship filing. My parents were petitioning the court for temporary custody of my son, citing my inability to provide a safe and stable environment, and my documented pattern of instability. I sat in my car reading the paperwork and felt something shift. They were trying to take my kid. This wasn't family drama. This was war. I'd never hired a lawyer before. Didn't even know where to start. I Googled family law attorneys, read reviews, called 3 offices. The first 2 couldn't see me for weeks. The third had a cancellation the next day. Her name was Nora. Office in a strip mall between a tax place and a nail salon, but the reviews were solid. I showed up 15 minutes early with my binder and a legal pad covered in notes. She was younger than I expected, maybe late 30s, and she didn't waste time on small talk. I laid out everything. The Facebook post, the CPS report, the emergency guardianship filing, showed her my documentation, the timeline I'd built. She flipped through it all without expression. Then she looked up. This is good work, she said. You've got dated evidence, multiple sources, clear timeline. That puts you ahead. So I can fight this? Absolutely. Emergency guardianship requires proof of immediate danger. Your house is clean. Your kid is healthy. CPS hasn't substantiated anything. Your parents don't have a case. But we need to be thorough. She charged $200 an hour with a $1,500 retainer. I paid it with money I'd been saving for a new transmission. Priorities shift fast when someone's trying to take your kid. She gave me homework. Get statements from my son's teacher and pediatrician. Nora had me sign release forms so the school and pediatrician could talk directly to her if needed. I emailed my son's teacher the same afternoon, and she printed a short note on school letterhead the next day. The pediatrician's office was slower, but they gave me a stamped visit summary and a letter confirming he was up to date on checkups. Compile more evidence of my sister's harassment. Document every interaction with my family from here on out. They're going to paint you as unstable, she said. So we show the court the opposite. Steady job, stable housing, involved parent. Then we show them who's actually unstable. Mateo met me at a diner near my work that night. I'd texted him about the guardianship filing, and he'd responded immediately asking to meet. He showed up with a notebook and that same calm energy he'd had the night before the CPS visit. "I've been thinking about this," he said, before I'd even ordered. "Your sister's escalating because the first attempt didn't work. That means she's going to keep trying until something sticks, or until she gets shut down hard enough that she has to stop." Nora said the same thing. "Nora's your lawyer?" I nodded. He looked relieved. "Good. You need representation. But you also need more documentation." He pulled out his phone and showed me a spreadsheet. He'd made a timeline. Every incident with my sister going back 2 years. The money requests. The theft. The police report. The Facebook post. Everything. "How did you have time to do this?" He shrugged. "I remember most of it. I was there for some of it. The rest I pulled from your texts and old emails you'd forwarded me. We'd been separated. Divorce papers signed. But here he was. "Why are you helping me?" I asked. He was quiet for a while. "Because I should have helped you before," he said. "When your family was treating you like garbage, I stayed quiet. Thought it wasn't my place to get involved. And because that's my son, too. I'm not letting your parents take him because your sister's having a meltdown." The hearing was set for 2 weeks out. Nora filed a response opposing the emergency guardianship, but until then, nothing changed. My son stayed with me. My parents didn't have temporary custody, but the threat hung there like a storm cloud. I took photos of the house daily, time-stamped and dated. I logged every meal I made, every homework session, every bedtime. I got a statement from my son's teacher saying he was a well-adjusted, happy child who came to school clean and prepared. His pediatrician wrote a letter confirming he was healthy, up to date on checkups, and showed no signs of neglect. Mateo installed more cameras, one on the back door, one in the driveway. Not because I thought my parents would try to grab my son, but because I wanted footage of everything. Every time they showed up uninvited, I'd have proof. They showed up 4 days before the hearing, both of them, pulled into my driveway at 7 p.m. while I was making dinner. The doorbell camera caught everything. I didn't answer. Just watched through my phone as they rang the bell 6 times, knocked, called my name. My mother pressed her face to the window trying to see inside. My son was upstairs doing homework. Didn't even know they were there. After 10 minutes, they left. I saved the footage and sent it to Nora. She called me an hour later. "That's good. We can use that for the harassment claim." "What harassment claim?" "The one we're filing next week," she said. "After we beat this guardianship thing, we're going after a no-contact order and possibly sanctions for filing a frivolous emergency petition." Mateo started coming over most evenings, just to help organize. We built what Nora called a good parent binder. Everything in one place. School records, medical records, work schedule showing steady employment, rent receipts, utility bills all paid on time, character references from neighbors and co-workers. It was 3 inches thick by the time we finished. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. Lay in bed running through worst-case scenarios. What if the judge sided with my parents? What if they found some technicality? What if my sister showed up and lied under oath and the judge believed her? At 2 a.m., Mateo texted me, "You're going to be fine. They have nothing." I didn't ask how he knew I was awake. Just texted back, "Thanks," and tried to breathe. The courthouse was smaller than I expected. Nora met me in the hallway, looking calm in a navy suit. "Your parents are here," she said, "with their attorney. Your sister's not here, which is interesting." "Why is that interesting?" "Because she's the one driving this. If she was confident, she'd show. Her absence says a lot." We walked into the courtroom. My parents sat on the other side with a lawyer I didn't recognize. My mother looked stern. My father looked uncomfortable. Neither of them made eye contact with me. The judge reviewed the paperwork for what felt like forever before looking up. She asked everyone to state their names for the record, then reminded my parents' attorney this was an emergency petition, not a custody trial. When he tried to talk in circles, she cut him off and asked for actual evidence. Dates, incidents, anything concrete. My parents' lawyer stood. He made his case, claimed I was unstable, pointed to the CPS report as evidence of concerns, said my parents were worried about their grandson's welfare in my care. Nora objected twice, once when he tried to characterize the CPS visit without actually having the report, once when he implied I had a history of mental health issues with zero evidence. Then it was our turn. Nora stood and destroyed them. She submitted the CPS report showing the case was closed as unfounded, submitted statements from my son's teacher and pediatrician, my employment records showing steady work history, photos of my home, documentation of my son's routine, proof of paid bills and stable housing. Then she played the doorbell camera footage of my parents showing up uninvited and persistent contact despite no response. Submitted screenshots of the Facebook post with the judge's permission. pointed out that the person who posted it, my sister, was notably absent from these proceedings, despite being the one who apparently expressed concerns to my parents. This isn't a case about child welfare, Nora said. This is a family dispute being weaponized through the court system. The child in question is healthy, happy, well cared for, and in a stable home. This filing is retaliatory. My parents' lawyer tried to push back, said the CPS report existing at all was concerning, regardless of outcome. Nora countered that false reports made in bad faith are actually evidence of harassment, not legitimate concern. The judge took off her glasses and looked directly at my parents. I'm not seeing an emergency. I'm seeing a child who's attending school regularly, receiving medical care, living in appropriate housing with his mother, who has no history of neglect or abuse. The CPS case was closed as unfounded. I'm denying this petition. My mother started to speak. The judge held up a hand. I'm not finished. I'm also noting for the record that filing emergency petitions without evidence wastes court resources and can be sanctioned. I'm warning counsel that any future filings of this nature will be scrutinized heavily. She banged her gavel. The whole thing took 45 minutes. My parents tried to approach me in the hallway. Nora stepped between us. No contact with my client, she said firmly. Any further communication goes through me. We left them standing there. My mother looked furious. My father looked defeated. I felt nothing, just tired. In the parking lot, I called Mateo, told him the judge had denied the petition. He was quiet for a second, then I heard him exhale. I'm proud of you, he said. We hadn't talked like that in years. Maybe ever. I sat in my car and cried for 5 minutes before driving home. Nora filed for a civil harassment restraining order the next day, named my sister, my parents, and Caddy. The petition was detailed, listed every incident. This is going to take about 3 weeks to get a hearing date, she said. In the meantime, if they contact you, save it. If they show up, record it. If they try to use intermediaries, document that too. They didn't contact me directly, but they tried other ways. I also gave my supervisor a heads up that my family might show up again. I didn't dump the whole story. Just said there was an active court issue, and I didn't want anyone pulled into it. HR noted it, and security got told not to let anyone looking for Amanda pass the front desk without calling me first. My aunt called twice. She left messages about how I was tearing the family apart, how I needed to think about what I was doing, how my parents were just worried about their grandson. I saved the voicemails and sent them to Nora. Someone created a fake Facebook account and sent me a friend request. The account had no photos, no posts had been created that week. I declined the request. My uncle showed up at my work, caught me in the parking lot at the end of my shift, started talking about family loyalty and forgiveness. I didn't engage, just said I had nothing to discuss and got in my car. He stood there as I drove away. I immediately called Nora and reported it. That's a violation of the peace we're seeking, she said. I'll add it to the petition. The whole thing felt surreal. I was living my normal life, going to work, taking care of my son, while simultaneously building a legal case against my own family. Mateo came over most evenings. We'd fallen into a routine. He'd show up around 6 with takeout or groceries. We'd make dinner together while our son did homework. After he went to bed, we'd go through the day's documentation. One night, I asked him why he was still helping. The divorce was still proceeding. We hadn't stopped that, just paused it while dealing with this. Because I'm realizing I checked out of this marriage when I should have been present, he said. And because watching you handle this, I'm seeing parts of you I forgot were there, or maybe never appreciated in the first place. It wasn't a declaration, but it meant something. The restraining order hearing was set for 3 weeks after Nora filed. In the meantime, I got a call from Lars's lawyer. My sister's soon-to-be ex-husband wanted to know if I'd be willing to provide evidence in his custody case. Specifically, documentation of my sister's behavior and judgment. I met with his attorney, brought copies of everything. He took notes. This is helpful, he said. Shows a pattern of impulsive, vindictive behavior and poor judgment regarding children. Exactly what I need. Is Lars doing okay? I asked. He's hurt, but he's focused on his son right now. Wants to make sure the kid's protected from his mother's chaos. I understood that completely. 2 days before the restraining order hearing, my sister finally broke her silence. She sent a long email to my work address, which she must have gotten from an old Christmas card or something. It was unhinged. Pages of rambling accusations. I'd destroyed her life. I'd ruined her marriage. I'd poisoned our parents against her. The whole thing read like someone spiraling. I didn't respond. The restraining order hearing was in the same courthouse. Same judge, actually. My sister was there this time, sitting with my parents and Caddy. No lawyers for any of them. They'd decided to represent themselves, apparently. That was a mistake. The judge asked my sister directly if she'd made the Facebook post. She admitted it, but said it was taken out of context. The judge asked what context would make calling a child a mistake appropriate. My sister didn't have an answer. The judge asked my parents why they'd filed for emergency guardianship. My father said they were concerned. The judge asked what evidence they had of immediate danger. He said they'd heard concerning things. From whom? From my sister. The judge made a note. Then Nora requested attorney's fees, argued that defending against frivolous legal action and harassment had cost me thousands of dollars, submitted the bills from her services, requested that my sister and parents split the costs as sanction for bad faith filings. My sister's face went red. My mother started to object. The judge held up her hand again. I'm granting the restraining order, she said. 3 years. No contact, direct or indirect. If you need to communicate about the child, it goes through attorneys only. As for fees, I'm awarding 50% of requested amount. The 3 respondents will split this payment equally, she continued. I'm also noting that the Facebook post, while not illegal, demonstrated remarkably poor judgment, and filing a false CPS report can carry criminal penalties. I'm putting it on record that this behavior is documented and serious. My mother tried to speak. The judge cut her off. I've heard enough. Order granted. We're done here. The gavel hit. Nora and I walked out to her car. She looked satisfied. That's about as good as it gets, she said. They're ordered to pay you. They're legally required to stay away. And the judge basically called them out for wasting everyone's time. Your sister's going to have a hard time in her custody case with this on record. I paid Nora the rest of her bill that week. $3,200 total. Worth every cent. Within a month, the payment arrived. Court ordered. I deposited it and put half toward my son's college fund. The other half went to fixing my transmission. The restraining order changed everything. My sister couldn't contact me. My parents couldn't contact me. Caddy couldn't contact me. If they tried, it was a violation. Criminal. Arrestable. They tested it once. 2 weeks after the order was granted, my mother sent a letter. Not to my home, to my work. Gave it to someone in the office to pass to me. The co-worker handed it over, looking confused. I didn't open it. Just photographed it. Envelope intact with postmark visible, and called Nora. That's a violation, she said. Do you want to report it? Will it do anything? They'll get a warning at minimum. If they do it again, could be contempt charges or arrest. I thought about it. Send them a warning through their attorney, I said. One chance. Next time I report it. The letter stopped. No more attempts after that. My sister's custody case fell apart over the next few months. I didn't have to testify, but my documentation was submitted as evidence. The Facebook post, the CPS report, the guardianship attempt. All of it showed a pattern that Lars's lawyer used to argue she had poor judgment and vindictive tendencies that could harm their son. She got supervised visitation, lost primary custody. Lars got full custody, with her getting every other weekend, supervised by a third party for the first 6 months. She'd done it to herself, used the court system as a weapon, and it had backfired completely. I heard through Lars's mother that my sister had to get a second job to pay her legal fees, lost the house in the divorce, moved into an apartment. Her life had effectively imploded, and it was all self-inflicted. Every choice she made, every escalation had consequences. My parents stopped coming to family events. Or maybe they weren't invited anymore. The family fractured. Some people took sides. Most just went quiet. The whole system that had enabled my sister's behavior for years just sort of collapsed when forced to look at the actual evidence. Caddy deleted her Facebook account entirely. My aunt stopped posting too. The family that had been so loud in supporting my sister's original post went completely silent. I blocked everyone who'd liked or commented on that post. Every single person. Cleaned out my social media completely. If they wanted to gossip about me, they could do it where I couldn't see it. My life got smaller, but better. Work, home, my son. Bills and scheduling and homework help. The usual problems, minus the constant threat. The CPS case officially closed 4 months after the initial visit. The social worker called to let me know. Said the case had been marked as unfounded and malicious reporting, which would stay on record. If anyone reported me again, they'd see that history. Mateo never really left after everything settled. He'd officially moved back in about 2 months after the restraining order was granted, but even before that, he'd been around more than not. We stopped the divorce, called the lawyer handling it, told him we'd changed our minds. He sounded more surprised than we were. We didn't have some big romantic reunion. No dramatic declarations or tearful apologies. We just sort of rebuilt slowly. Started actually talking about things instead of letting them fester. Went to a few sessions with a counselor who taught us how to communicate without shutting down. I think I checked out when things got hard, he said one night. After he was born and everything changed, I didn't know how to handle it. So I just worked more and disappeared. That wasn't fair to you. I stopped trying to reach you after a while, I admitted. Just assumed you didn't care anymore. But I never actually asked if that was true. I just decided it was and acted accordingly. We'd both been wrong in different ways, but we were fixing it now. My son adjusted better than expected. He'd been confused when we separated, relieved when Mateo started coming around more, and thrilled when he officially moved back. Kids are resilient like that. He never asked about my family. They'd just sort of vanished from his life and he moved on. I wondered sometimes if he'd ask about them when he got older. Want to know what happened? Why half his family disappeared? I'd tell him the truth when he was ready. For now, he was 6 and happy, and that was enough. Work stabilized. Money was still tight but manageable. Mateo's income helped. We weren't rich, but we could pay bills on time and occasionally do something fun. That was progress. I ran into my aunt at Target once. We both saw each other at the same time. She looked like she wanted to say something, opened her mouth, then closed it. Remembered the restraining order. She walked away fast. I finished my shopping and went home. Didn't feel triumphant. Just felt tired. Mostly just tired of thinking about them at all. My son started first grade that fall. Did well, made friends. Joined an art club after school. Normal kid stuff. He drew a family portrait for an assignment and included me, Mateo, and our dog. We'd gotten a few months before. No one else. Just the 3 of us and a golden retriever puppy he'd named Mochi. That was his family now. I'd heard through distant connections that my sister was struggling. Working 2 jobs, barely making rent, fighting to get more than supervised visitation with her son. My parents had apparently sold their house and moved 2 hours away. They'd all kind of imploded in different ways. I didn't feel vindicated or happy about their struggles. Just felt distant. They were people I used to know who made terrible choices. Mateo asked me once if I missed them. I had to think about it. I missed the fantasy of what family should be, but I didn't miss the reality of what mine actually was. One Saturday morning, my son asked if he had any cousins. I told him he had one, but we didn't see him anymore. He asked why, and I said, sometimes families grow apart. He accepted that and went back to watching cartoons. The restraining order had another 2.5 years on it. After that, it would expire unless renewed. I'd probably renew it. Not because I thought they'd try something, but because I liked the legal barrier. Liked knowing there were consequences now if they tried to reinsert themselves into my life. That night, after my son went to bed, Mateo and I sat on the couch watching TV. Nothing special, just existing together comfortably. He reached over and took my hand. Didn't say anything. Just held it. You good? He asked. Yeah, I said. I'm good. And I was. For the first time in years, I actually was. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.